Jayo Sri Vrindavan, Sri Vrindavan, Sri Vrindavan, Jai Sri Vrindavan.
You have arrived at the holy place of Sri Lalita Saki, who is a very special gopi in the pastimes of the divine couple Shri Radha and Krishna. This Mandir on the top of the hill is the temple of Lalita Devi. And I believe we will hear a little bit about the pastimes and so on from the mouths of His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj, and he is also our living encyclopedia of Braj stories, our Dina Bandhu. So we will listen a little later about this place from them. But now I want to request you to listen only about Lalita Devi. Before starting, I wish to make one comment. When we sit and listen to the katha, it is not that we sit to become entertained. No. When we listen, we perform the activity of Shravanam or listening as a devotional service to Radha and Krishna and Lalita. So please do not sleep while you perform devotional service because then you will not be so effective. Please sit here with the understanding that you will listen something and please listen in an active way, that is, listen and allow your own understanding to explore what you will hear. So there is a lot of descriptions about Lalita Devi, but if you wish to see her in your mind's eye, you have to imagine the most beautiful personality who has an effulgence just like this yellow pigment which you will find on cow hooves. It's very yellow, almost jumping in the eyes, so yellow. Her beautiful clothing is a welcome contrast to this. She has a zari and everything like peacock feathers. It's a slightly green, and this mixture of her complexion and the greenish zari, which has eyes on it, the eyes of the peacock feathers, makes her beautiful. Lalita Saki is a little older than Srimati Radharani, that is 27 days older. And this gives her a unique role in Krishna Leela, which is extremely fascinating to listen to. Lalita Saki takes in her advice to Srimati Radharani a clearly superior role and will guide as the older the pastimes of Sri Radha and also the pastimes of Sri Krishna. When Lalita Saki has the impression that Sri Krishna is a little bit too fickle and is not holding his words, Lalita Saki will not be shy to exercise her superiority in the service of Lord Krishna, and she will sometimes reprimand him, and it is said with shrill sounding sounds, This is a very nasty sound which you have heard, but it is at least shrill. Her sound is shrill and beautiful. And Lord Krishna has to retreat because this sound is very difficult to go against. Lalita Sakhi is highly artistic. She knows to play the veena very nice, and amongst her chief assistants there is Sri Rupa Manjari. When Radhakund, which you all saw yesterday, was in the 18th century, there were so many spots really where a beautiful kutir could be built. But when Bhaktivinoda Thakur came to Radhakund, he chose a spot which was a little far away from the Kund, but very near to the Kund of Lalita Sakhi, because it is through Lalita Sakhi and Rupa Manjari, who in this who has appeared as Rupa Goswami, that we, the Rupanuga Vaishnavas, attain our highest desires. In spiritual life, there is, in other words, a line which cannot be crossed, a line in which you have to also stand in line. And that is the line of Rupa Goswami for the Rupa Nuga Vaishnavas, who approach the divine, who are under the care and guidance of Lalita Sakhi. There is a vast array of Lalita's capabilities, but here, because we speak in a time frame of 10 minutes, I do not yet know if these are Indian minutes or German minutes. I hope they are Indian minutes. But we will just be very brief. There is one very nice scripture which you know. It's Mukta Charita. It's describing how Lord Krishna once came to the beautiful gopis who were assembled in Malihari Kund near Radha Kund, and who were stringing their pearls. Diwali was approaching and Krishna needed some pearls for the decoration of his beloved cows, and he went to the beautiful gopis and said, "Give me some pearls for my cow Harini and Hangsi." And Lalita went over to Shrimati Radharani and said, "Don't give Shyam Sundar any pearls," and answered, "We think our pearls are too good for your cows. You please go get some other pearls." Then a long pastime takes place in which Krishna plants the pearls of his mother Yashoda into the fertile ground of Braj, and pearl trees come with which Lord Krishna decorates not only his cows but also the monkeys of Vrindavan, and the gopis try to also imitate that, and they also plant all their pearls, but they lose them all because nothing comes out of the ground. Only these thorny trees. Anyways, now the gopis are without pearls. They have lost every pearl, and they now need to somehow get the pearls from Krishna. And it's a long pastime, but in the end, Krishna sits on his pearls, on trunks and troves of pearls, and he demands from the gopis a price which they are not willing to pay. And at that time, a letter arrives. This letter reads, is addressed to Nandanandana Krishna. It says, my dear Nandanandana, you should know that the land of Vrindavan is my property. Whatever you have grown on this land is fine and well, but it is mine. Signed, Srimati Radharani. And this, of course, turns, I think in English we say, turns the tables. It makes a complete different picture. And Krishna says, oh, she is so clever. She is so clever. How could she thought of this? Of course, this is the cleverness of Lalita, who has advised Radharani like this. So there are, and then Krishna tries to argue that he never heard that the forest of Vrindavan is Srimati Radharani's, and then Lalita comes on the scene, and listen to this. She says, Shyama Sundar, you were personally present when Srimati Radharani was crowned the Queen of Braj. You were applying for a post, and since you are not very qualified, the post which we gave to you was the constable in Radharani's kingdom. But then you lost your flute, and we concluded that a constable who cannot even protect his own property is very, very incapable. But we kept you in the government. So now, do you remember this or not? Krishna is speechless, because how can he oppose Lalita Sakhi's argument? And then Tunga Vidya comes on the scene, and she says, well, I remember there was a coronation of Krishna. He had a crown made with horns. He was sitting on a throne of mud. And she continues to ridicule Krishna in such a way that Krishna feels very, very downtrodden because at his expense such jokes are made. Dear devotees, what I wish you to understand is Lalita Sakhi takes on, for the pleasure of Lord Krishna, the superior role in Krishna Lila, and pleases the divine couple with her clever intrigues. Therefore, her talents are very much on the clever side. She is the leader of Radha Sakhi. She's the instigator of most of the pastimes. She frequently becomes heavy and speaks outrageous, insolent retorts. She is brilliant in composing and understanding riddles. She can fashion unparalleled things with flowers. And if this is not enough, she is expert in performing magic tricks. This is a very, very outstanding Sakhi, and outstandingness, specialty is because she is here the leader of our line of Rupanuga Vaishnavas, and our good fortune can be attained through her blessings. When I heard that His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj chose this somewhat out of the beaten track Unchaagaon place, I admired again his transcendental intelligence, whereby which Maharaj designs these yatras so that you will get a maximum amount of spiritual benefit. And with this point I would like to conclude my 10 Indian minutes. You must know that there are two different types of spirituality, and to address this in modern terms so that you hear something new and your mind has to move and you can't sleep, I will call it here active spirituality and passive spirituality. with active spirituality, which is a theological term, we mean this what is called fruitive endeavors, where you think, I will do this, I have to do that to make advancement, and this and that and the other thing. In other words, you make the plan for your advancement. Most properly, this is in the genetic codes of most of us. If I don't do this, if I don't, and so on and so forth. As if we are the masters of our spiritual fortune. However, there is something which we could call passive spirituality, which is when mercy descends from a higher plane into our lives and hearts and begins to move us. Here it is not us who are moving our fortunes, but it is the mercy of Srimati Radharani and the mercy of Lalita Sakhi who moves us in our spiritual advancement. This is a very, very important thing to know, that you can lose your tension in your heart, your anxiety in your heart. You can just, which comes when you look at your own qualifications and you realistically and honestly find out, most probably they are not enough to bring me back home, back to Godhead. In this other concept, which is taught in the Bhakti tradition, it is the mercy which moves you back to Godhead. You can feel at home in Vrindavan Dham. You have arrived on the lap of Vrindavan Dham. You are sitting in the dust. The dust will work on you. The dust will soak your sacred skins, go into your hearts, through the lungs, and move some Krishna Bhakti in there. So let us all with great childlike wonder become aware of the fortunate situation. We are sitting in Lalita's courtroom, who is the agency of Srimati Radharani. There's a shloka to Srimati Lalita Sakhi that Lalita Sakhi will look out for every devotee who has a little sincerity in his or her heart. And she will think, this devotee is very good. Let me bring this devotee to Srimati Radharani. You may have knocked very often at the doors of transcendence, and you might have found them sometimes closed, as in my unfortunate life it is. But now we are in a back door. We have found a back alley. We have found Lalita Sakhi, who wants to bring us in, and she is anyway doing what she wants. She is very contrary to everything else, so she might wave you through. Come, when you have this sincerity in your heart. I wish you all the best from my heart in obtaining as much mercy. And I want to say to His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj, Badai ho, Badai ho. Badai ho means congratulations. Badai ho for making such intelligent arrangements to bring all of us to Lalita Sakhi's door, from where it is very fast, the fast lane to get to Srimati Radharani's mercy. Jai Jai Sri Radhe.
I feel very humbled sitting here with the Vrindavan All-Stars. It's a very tough act to follow. But perhaps the only way I could possibly follow His Holiness Sachinandana Swami is to repeat something he just recently told me at the Lalita Sakhi Mandir. And that's actually the proper way to come to Vrindavan. We should feel that we have no qualification at all to access the Holy Dham. But we come to the Holy Dham because there are great souls that are staying here and have the qualification to access the Holy Dham. And by serving and hearing them, we may also get something. So Sachinandana Maharaj, when we came up to the hill, was just glorifying how wonderful it is to be in this atmosphere, looking over Radha's Dham. And he said that we can access it. We only have to do one thing. And if we can do one thing, we can enter the Dham. He said we just have to stay here and we have to avoid offense. And this is actually and again, this is again why His Holiness Radhanath Swami, when you're in the Dham, is so much emphasizing the service mood of the Vaishnavas. I was speaking about that before, that in one commentary on the Sikshastakam, on the Trinada piece in Ichena verse, I forgot who was speaking, said that just as the eye is protected by the eyelid, our tendency for offense is protected by humility. And humility comes from service to the Vaishnavas. So Srila Prabhupada has actually prepared us so well for the highest subject. Although, in his mercy, he also gave it to us directly. One time Srila Prabhupada was challenged, why, if the Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken in 10 cantos, and it was heard systematically by Maharaj Pariksit and from Sukadeva Goswami, then why, of practically all the books you gave of the Bhagavatam, why did you give the Krishna book first? And Prabhupada gave a very quick answer. He said, just like when the Gujaratis feed you, they give the sweets first. So, but although Prabhupada was so merciful in that way, and of course we see how he gave us the Krishna book, with the proper frame of reference to understand it. We should also understand, in Prabhupada's mercy, is that he also taught us the systematic way also. In the very first verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada hones in on the word Param Satyam Dhimahi. Param Satyam Dhimahi. That the whole goal of Krishna consciousness is to meditate on the absolute truth. Param Satyam Dhimahi. That's the goal of Krishna consciousness. As Rupa Goswami says, all other rules can fit into the rules. We should think of Krishna and regulations. We should think of Krishna and never forget him. But he also said, Param Satyam Dhimahi, that Dhimahi indicates the Gayatri mantra. And the Gayatri mantra is to purify you of material attachments. So it also indicates that we have to become purified by service to come and qualify to actually access the Dham. And Narottam Das Thakur gives us a very nice mantra, a very, very nice mantra for parikram. And it sums up parikram. Vishayacharya kabe shude habe man kabe hama herabo Shri Vrindavan Dham. When the mind becomes peaceful, and I become free from the desire for sense gratification, then I will actually see Vrindavan. Also in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami describes the 5 most potent items of devotional service. And he says that even a neophyte can experience high devotional sentiments by executing these processes, beginning with Nam Kirtan, chanting the holy name, seeing the deities, associating with devotees, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, or hearing these stories about Krishna, and residing in the holy Dham. It says even a neophyte can experience bhava. And what's a neophyte mean? Neophyte means one who doesn't have attraction for Krishna. Jiva Goswami says if you want to gauge your level of advancement, he says there's no difference between your bhakti and your desire to hear about Krishna. Your attraction for Krishna will manifest in your desire to hear about Krishna. So even a neophyte, one who doesn't have that desire, is mentioned in the second canto when Shonaka Rishi is praying that if you don't come to tears upon hearing the holy name, then your heart is steel framed. It means of offenses. So Rupa Goswami says that if you execute these items, even a neophyte can experience high devotional sentiments, bhava bhakti, provided he avoids offense. So I'll almost finish. I'm carefully watching the watch because there's many speakers that are ready to explode with nectar. And when it explodes spontaneously with that from the heart, it's hard to control it from the intelligence. So I'll just share one more point, because this is the point that I'll have to speak about. I'll just maybe explain. There are symptoms of Vaishnava aparad, and Sri Jiva Goswami also explains this. And I'll just explain the first one. He explains 5. And he said the first one is crookedness. Because, the example he gives is of Duryodhana, who made such a wonderful feast for Krishna. Duryodhana, yeah. He made such a wonderful feast for Krishna. So much was there, so many preparations. But actually, it was only a symptom of his offense, because it was crooked. It had motive. It wasn't for Krishna. So one of the first symptoms of aparad, because when offense is there, then that's what prevents you from experiencing the spiritual potency, which is pure bliss. It's only offense. So what will happen, you will be performing devotional service, but if the devotion is not there, then why are you performing it? There'll be some motive. It'll be a material motive. So the symptom of offense is that our activities, even in devotional service, will be for profit, adoration, and distinction. Anyway, there are 4 other symptoms he gives. I'll just list them, and maybe some other day I can explain them. And he said the first is faithlessness. The first is crookedness. Then he says faithlessness. Then he says you start to develop faith in things that do not nourish your faith in Krishna. It may be a cell phone. This will make me happy. And it'll have a picture and so many things, or some ambition. And your devotional service will become slack. You'll easily become swayed by the waves of happiness and distress, and you won't be able to remain fixed. And he says, finally, he said the last symptom is that you'll develop pride, that I am a big devotee. So we should proceed on parikram in this mood, following in the footsteps of the Vaishnavas, being the humble servant of the devotees, which cultivates the humility in our heart, which will protect us from offense, and therefore allow the reality of Krishna consciousness, which is manifest in Krishna's Dham, to actually affect our heart. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Radhanath Maharaj has given me 10 minutes to say something, but I am such a dried up, useless person that I have nothing I can say in front of these wonderful Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. So I'm offering my 10 minutes to Jagat Tarini, who is a fountain of Krishna Katha and Vrindavan Katha. And that will benefit yourselves and my fallen self as well. Hare Krishna.
I would like to apologize for not really having a very clear thoughts in mind of what to share with you about Lalita Devi. So if you will excuse me for something a little scattered, I will try to share with you some of the things that I have heard over the years of being in Vrindavan. Whilst listening to Maharaj speak, I was thinking that he had notes, so it was a little bit easier. And what could I add or present at a moment's notice? And then it came into my mind one book that I have read in the past and very much appreciated by Srila Rupa Goswami. The book is called Hansadutta. And this particular book, the subject matter is the intense mood of Srimati Radharani's feelings of separation from Krishna when he has left and gone to Mathura. One day the gopis with Radharani are walking by the Jamuna, and they see a pastime cottage which Radha and Krishna had met together at many times in the past. And seeing this beautiful place, Srimati Radharani falls down on the ground in a faint. Then Lalita Devi indicates to the other gopis and sakhis that they should go very quickly to the Jamuna river and bring some water, whilst she herself places a small swab of cotton in front of Srimati Radharani's nostrils to see if she's actually even still alive. And when she sees that there is a faint movement of the fibers of the cotton, then she herself also goes to get some water to revive Srimati Radharani. When she reaches the shore of the Jamuna, she sees a beautiful, transcendently charming white swan. And as soon as she sees this swan, she thinks to herself that this swan is a suitable carrier to take a message to Krishna in Mathura on behalf of Srimati Radharani. And Srila Rupa Goswami says that there is actually no fault on her behalf in mistaking this animal to be a messenger for Krishna, because one who has pure love for Krishna, it makes the soul innocent And thus a soul who has pure love for Krishna can trust everyone in the whole universe. So then she speaks her heart to this swan, first giving directions which route to take. You should fly this way, you can fly over these pastime places, but don't look at these ones, because if you see these places where Radha and Krishna met, then it will break your heart and you will not be able to present appropriately this message to Krishna. So then, in the course of this beautiful literature, Lalita Devi, she laments. And I was thinking when we were hearing of her quality that she's very prakar. It means that many times she will interfere, she will intervene before Radha and Krishna. When Krishna comes to meet Radharani and he says so many charming words, but Lalita Devi will step forward and she will also instruct Radharani and say, don't be too easy to get. You should play very contrary. You should look away. Don't look at him so easily. Don't smile at him like that, because he's so untrustworthy. And so if you just easily fall into his hands when he tells you, I'm so sorry I'm late, there was a very good reason. My mother, she told me I had to stay home. And then there was a demon by Govardhan Hill and I had to do some work there. So I'm so sorry that I've come late to meet you. You should be very suspicious and you should not easily give in to Krishna and his various excuses and sweet words. So in this Hamsadutta, Lalita Devi, she regrets that so many times, of course this is a transcendental emotion, not a material emotion where somebody makes a mistake and then they lament their error. But this is at the height of her transcendental mood of separation from Krishna. She laments and says, how many times did I stand in the way of your meeting with Krishna when the only thing that you wanted was actually to meet him. So Lalita Devi plays a very special part in the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. She's like Srimati Radharani's Shiksha Guru. She can chastise her in various ways. She can chastise Krishna in different moods. She can challenge him. And all of this she does in a mood of complete and total service and love. So just recently, I had the good fortune to spend a short time at Jagannath Puri. And whilst we were there, we spent much time and effort reading from the Chaitanya Chaitamrita. So there we see that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was very, very intimately connected in his Puri Leela with Srila Sarup Damodar. And Srila Sarup Damodar, it is said that he was like another Swarup of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he was so careful and also, in fact, not so prakar, he was very silent and he kept many things deeply locked in his heart. But when Srila Rupa Goswami, who we all know as also in Krishna Lila, Srila Rupa Manjari, and as Maharaj was saying, is the maidservant of Lalita Devi. When Sri Rupa Manjari, in the form of Rupa Goswami, came to Jagannath Puri and saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dancing in front of the Rath Yatra cart, and heard what he was speaking, heard what he was calling out, as in his mood of transcendental ecstatic love, then Srila Rupa Goswami, listening to this one verse that I think it was from Vidyapati, that Lord Chaitanya was speaking, which sounded like a lament between a young woman who is separated from her lover. Srila Rupa Goswami took this sentiment deep into his purified consciousness, and he wrote one verse. He wrote it on a palm leaf, and then he hid it in the thatch of his hut, in his cottage at Siddhabakul. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came there, he saw this verse, and he read it. And when he read this verse, it perfectly explained the inner moods of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which are identical with this, the transcendental loving mood of separation of Srimati Radharani. And when he saw Rupa Goswami next, he slapped him very affectionately and he said, "How does he understand? How did you understand my heart?" And then he called Swarup Damodar there, and he said, "How does he, Rupa, understand my innermost sentiments that I have not spoken to anyone?" And then Sri Swarup Damodar Goswami, he responded by saying, the only way that he could understand your deepest inner mood is if you have already bestowed your mercy upon him. Otherwise, there is no way. And then Lord Chaitanya said, yes, this is actually correct. When I met Sri Rupa in Prayag, I saw that he was a suitable person to give my mercy to, and so I bestowed my mercy upon him. So it is very profound to see the link between the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Swarup Damodar, Sri Rupa Goswami, and the residents of this eternal Sri Vrindavan Dham, and how, as Maharaj was saying, there is a process by which we can enter into these transcendental pastimes. And Srila Prabhupada himself was saying at his disappearance day, in the morning lecture, he spoke and he said, you cannot understand the pastimes of Radha and Krishna unless your consciousness is purified, because you will think they are like the pastimes between ordinary boys and girls of this world. He said, we must go through the line of authority. Sri Rupa Raghunatha Pade Hoi Vai Akuti Kaise Hama Bujabo Shri Jugala Priti. So this is, and then he went on to say, and then also the Guru Parampara, the disciplic succession. So this is, with all awareness of our own lack of qualification, this is our qualification, that we have been given any information or any good fortune by Srila Prabhupada's mercy. And so I thank you very much for your patient hearing, and I thank Maharaj also for giving me an opportunity to remember some of these special qualities of Srimati Lalita Devi. Thank you very much.
I was thinking, when I was hearing Satchidananda Maharaj giving a nice warning to pay close attention, and I was thinking about what I said about the Mugula Bhagat. Somebody just tried to say I'm an encyclopedia of something or other, but our Dr. Sarvabhauma, Mota Baba, he's an encyclopedia of incredible stories. So to bring these two together, I'll tell you an interesting story. There was one fisherman, not very high-class person, fishing, fisherman. So he was fishing in the river all night long. He didn't catch a single fish. Somehow or other, he was throwing his nets and throwing it all night long. Then he looked over and he saw the big tank of the king. He said, he'd been all night, it's early in the morning, no one's around. So he went over there to the tank of the king. And he threw his net, he caught a huge fish. So let me get another one. He threw his net, he caught another big fish. So he was going on like this, not paying the time was passing. Suddenly looked in the distance, he saw a big elephant coming, a big procession. Now the king's coming. Now what am I going to do? So he dug a big hole in the ground, he put all his fish in the hole in the ground, he put his basket on top of that, he put his blanket on top of that, and he sat down there. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So the king's procession was going by. Somehow a king was sitting on his elephant, he heard the sound of the holy name enter his ear. Hare? There's some saintly person here. And of course a fisherman, he covered himself with sand, like the sadhus, they always do, so covered himself with sand. So. He looked over, he saw sitting on this little mound on top of his blanket, he saw this, what appeared to be a little sadhu. So immediately he got down from his elephant, he went over, he paid his obeisances to the saint. He called his minister, he gave him 51 gold coins, like that, he put it at his feet, like that. So all the followers of the king, they were coming behind, they saw the king offering so much respect. So if somebody was giving 10 coins, somebody was giving 5 coins, everybody who came behind, they were just giving him so many coins and so many coins, like that. Then the procession went away. And the fisherman, he looked up, he said, "Oh my Lord, if just by doing bogus bhajan I got like this, I can't imagine what will happen from real bhajan." So you should take Maharaj's warning to heart. You're in the most sacred place with the most wonderful spiritual master and so many wonderful devotees here to speak very, very, just by bogus. You saw what happened just by bogus, hearing bogus, doing bogus bhajan, you know, so Bugula Bhagat. So imagine what would happen from seriously hearing Krishna Katha. So, just behind the Lalita Devi temple, there's a kund called Deha Kund. You know Deha. Every Gurukul boy knows this verse, even if he's sound asleep, you know. So what is that verse from 2nd chapter? Nehinosminnita dehe komaram jovanam jara tatha dehantara prapti dhirastatra namuyate. So we all know Deha means body. So what happened was, here in this Unchaagaon, there lived a very, 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 very poor Brahmin. Just like me. And just like me, he had a very, 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 very beautiful daughter of marriageable age. Of course, now I got mine married, so. But all of you understand that. Those who are not from India, they may understand that being very poor and having a beautiful daughter, this is a great anxiety. Because not only do you have to feed and clothe her and train her, and you give her instruction and you teach her how to serve her husband for the rest of her life, like that, even if she's going to serve her husband for the rest of her life, still to get married, get her married, you have to give money. And the fathers, I know, they're very, very, very attached to their daughters. If they're unable to give to proper husband, then they will suffer for the rest of their life. So this is big anxiety. But not like me. He had a wife whose tongue was like a razor blade. And she was always saying, "What kind of Brahmin are you? Go collect some dime, get some donation, get your daughter married. What are you doing, you know? What kind of Brahmin are you? You can't collect any money. What are you? You're useless." One day she said, "Get out. I'm not cooking, I'm not cleaning, I'm not letting you back in the house until you get some dime and you arrange the marriage of your daughter." So then he thought what to do. So he went to Sri Nandanandan, who was with Srimati Radhika and all the Sakis and Manjaris, explained his problem to her. Nandanandan said, "Hey, what am I supposed to do? I'm just a cowherd boy here in the forest. All my money is with Baba and they're in Unchaagaon." He said, "But I have one treasure. She is the only treasure I have in my whole life. I have one Priya." Now in British English, Priya means dear. So in British English, dear means something that's very, very expensive. Isn't it? Don't they say, "Oh, it is so dear"? So he said, "So I give you this Priya." And Krishna actually sipped water, he made sankalpa, and he gave Radharani in charity to that Brahmin. Then that Brahmin really began to cry. He said, "First of all, I have one daughter, I can't even get her married. Now you give me a second one. Now my wife is going to kill me." Then Radharani, she looked at Krishna and said, "But you know, even 1 second I can't live. No, now I've given you in charity to a Brahmin, I cannot touch. But even 1 second, Sham Sundar, 1 second, I can't live with. No. Now I've given charity to a Brahmin. So then Radharani began to cry. Seeing Radharani cry, all the Sakis and Manjaris began to cry. Then Lord saw everybody's crying. What to do? See, this, all right, you bring one scale. Not like you have in your bathroom. No, this is that this type of scale. So he put Srimati Radhika on one side, and he told all the Sakis and Manjaris, you just take all your bangles and earrings and necklaces and everything, you put it on the other side, and when all that gold and jewelry and everything weighed just as much as the Deha, this transcendental body of Srimati Radhika, then Thakurji gave all of that gold and silver and pearls and emeralds and rubies and everything, silver and gold to that Brahmin. That Brahmin became very happy. Haribol, Haribol! He ran up back here to Unchaagaon to get his daughter married. Then Radharani became very happy. All the Sakis became very happy. Krishna in one stroke, he made everyone very happy. Oh, Sri Krishna Chandra Bhagavan ki!
Very good.
So, one more thing, just as everyone is saying, we're here in Lalita Sakhi's place. We saw she keeps Radharani under her control. So Rupa Goswami, in his Lalitastakam, he says, Radharani is under your control. If somehow or other I can please you, then you can give me Srimati Radharani's mercy. So I don't have to go anywhere else. And Maharaj so nicely mentioned that if she even sees a whiff, she even gets a scent of a smell of somebody who came to Braj and wants to serve Krishna, then Lalita Sakhi just tries to encourage that person. So we're here in this holy place, we should take advantage and be, just pray for the mercy of Lalita Sakhi in this place. She can give us Radharani. Jai Jai Sri Radhe! Sometimes the devotees ask, did I explain to you why we do this? No. Sometimes the devotees ask, why do you do like that? There's actually Shastra Praman. That to get something from a deep place, you need a hook. So this body is like a deep well. And it's filled with mountains and mountains of pap, sin. So this Ra, Akshar, he's very crooked. Even this R in English, R, he's more like a hook. And when you say Ra, that sound, according to music Shastra, that sound goes down. When you say it, Ra, Ra, you can feel it goes down. So you hook onto all that sin. Then Radhe. Now this De, this is one of those aspirated consonants, Akshar. So when you say hey, it's coming out, and that sound, you say it, hey! You can feel it's going up. Radhe Sham. Ma. When you say this Ma Akshar, then this becomes closed. Now you pulled it all out, don't let it come back. Now don't let it come back.
It is such a great fortune to hear from these very wonderful, deeply realized Vaishnavas, Vaishnavi. When they speak, it is the realizations they have gained through decades of selfless surrendered service to Sri Guru and Gauranga. And therefore that sound vibration very deeply purifies the heart. Professional reciters of the scriptures can fascinate our minds entertain, but only those who are genuinely and earnestly surrendering to Shri Guru Vaishnavas does the power to purify the heart come about. Lalita Saki, as has been explained, is Shiksha Guru of Srimati Radharani. In Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is a beautiful story of the cleansing of Gundicha temple. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so eager to perform the most menial service for Lord Jagannath. He called the superintendent of the temple and said, myself, personally, with my associates, we want to clean the Gundicha temple thoroughly tomorrow, so that it is a proper place for Lord Jagannath to come and give his darshan. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally distributed the brooms, and he was the first one in there with a broom, sweeping and sweeping and sweeping. In fact, he swept so nicely that he had all the devotees. There was over 100 devotees. There was actually about 300 devotees who had come from Bengal, plus all the devotees of Puri. They were all together, sweeping. They all made a pile, and Mahaprabhu was sweeping as if he had 1,000 arms. That was his enthusiasm. Now, Lord Chaitanya in Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati explained that cleansing Gundicha temple means cleaning the heart. If we desire Krishna to manifest in our heart first has to be perfectly clean. From the dust and the sand and the straw particles represent all of our gross and subtle material desires. And Mahaprabhu wanted to show the process of cleaning. Tremendous enthusiasm. We have to perform our bhajan of hearing about Krishna, chanting the names of Krishna. We have to perform our bhajan of performing seva. Because factually, seva is non-different than our hearing and chanting. They're inseparable. If you don't have a proper service attitude, Krishna will not be pleased to manifest himself even when you're hearing and chanting. That's why Prabhupada said chant at least 16 rounds each day, hear Srimad Bhagavatam, read the Holy Scriptures, and do seva. Because unless we do seva very, very enthusiastically with the proper consciousness, our hearing and chanting may be a type of entertainment, but it won't really please Krishna. As Radhanatha Swami Maharaj was explaining, we must have a service attitude. We must be enthusiastic. And we must be enthusiastic to chant and must be enthusiastic to hear. Because that cleanses the heart. And therefore Mahaprabhu taught the enthusiasm. He was cleaning that temple in such a menial way, like a sweeper, as if he had 1,000 arms, and you couldn't see any of them. Haribo. All the hundreds of devotees made a pile of dirt, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu single-handedly had a pile that was far larger than all the others put together. And then after sweeping, he said, now the whole temple was thoroughly swept. Mahaprabhu said, now do it all again, searching for finer and finer particles of sand, dust, and straw. This is how exceedingly fine we have to perform our bhajan if we want Krishna's love to manifest in our heart. Very serious. And they swept again. And that wasn't enough. Then they brought thousands and thousands of clay pots of water from Indrajumana Srovar. There were so many devotees bringing water from Indrajumana Srovar. They There was no space. So they were bringing from this well and that kund everywhere in all directions, just pots and pots of water by the thousands were coming. And they were throwing on the ceiling, on the walls, on the floors of every room. And Mahaprabhu, Sri Chaitanya, he was in so much intense emotion as he was cleaning this temple, which is cleaning the heart for Jagannath. He was weeping incessantly. Sometimes he didn't even use water. He just washed the temple with his incessant tears. And when they were in the area of the altar where Jagannath, Baladev and Subhadra were to be, as he was cleaning so emotionally with so much enthusiasm, one Bengali Vaishnav poured water on Lord Chaitanya's feet. But not only did he do that, after he poured it, he held his hands and drank it and then distributed it to others. But Lord Chaitanya didn't take note of that. And then a little later, when Mahaprabhu was actually cleaning the altar, another Bengali Vaishnav did the same thing. He washed Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's feet and drank it. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw this. And he called Swarup Damodar Goswami Maharaj. And he said, "Do you see what your Bengali Vaishnav has done? He has caused me to make an offense. To take the water of my feet in Jagannath's temple, he has implicated me in a great offense. Now get him out of here." And Swarup Damodar Goswami took that Bengali Vaishnav and very nicely exited him from the Gundicha temple. But then he came back and he begged Lord Chaitanya to forgive that devotee. With so much compassion, he prayed to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to forgive that devotee. Now, what is the purport to this? Srila Prabhupada explains it so beautifully, and it is so very important. If we want to properly follow the path of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we must understand the principle that is about to be explained. When Lord Chaitanya told Swarup Damodar Goswami, "Just see what your Bengali Vaishnav has done," Lord Chaitanya was proclaiming for all time to come that all the devotees in the Gaudiya Sampradaya are under the care and the protection of Swarup Damodar Goswami. And as Srimati Bhavatarini Devi has explained so nicely, Rupa Goswami, who was our Sampradaya Acharya, we are meant to be Rupanugas. He understood the heart of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his most intimate ecstasies. And who did Lord Chaitanya confide in? Swarup Damodar Goswami. How did he know? And Swarup Damodar Goswami, because he knew he could understand. Because you have bestowed your causeless mercy upon him. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita as well as Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat explain that Swarup Damodar Goswami knew intimately the heart of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And who was Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Radha and Krishna. Krishna, feeling the pangs of the separations of the love of Sri Radharani. And who was Swarup Damodar Goswami? Sri Radharani's Shiksha Guru and most intimate companion, Lalita Saki. During the Ratha Yatra, Swarup Damodar Goswami knew exactly what Lord Chaitanya was feeling in his heart, and he would sing particular songs and slokas just appropriate. Nobody else knew. Nobody knew. except Swarup Damodar Goswami, the intimate treasures of the thoughts of Lord Chaitanya's feelings. During the Ratha Yatra, Mahaprabhu is begging, Jagannath, let's leave this Kurukshetra. I don't like to see you as a prince. Let us go back to Vrindavan on the bank of the Yamuna. I want to see you with peacock feather, not royal crown. I want to see you with Vajayanti Mala, not all sorts of royal ornaments. I want to see you with the cows and the gopas, not with elephants and chariots and queens. This was his mood. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami explained that Swarup Damodar Goswami would sing just according moment to moment and moment what Lord Chaitanya was feeling, the appropriate verses, to increase Mahaprabhu's ecstasies. Yes, it is described in Chaitanya Bhagavat that in Swarup Damodar Goswami would sing so beautiful. He would sing songs that enthralled Mahaprabhu's heart. There's one instance where Swarup Damodar was leading a kirtan as they were just dancing through the streets of Puri, and Mahaprabhu, hearing Swarup Damodar's kirtans, would be oblivious to the world. He was just dancing and dancing and dancing in ecstasy, and he fell into a deep, dark well right in front of everyone's eyes. Everyone's dancing, Swarup Damodar singing, Mahaprabhu goes crazy in ecstasy, and all of a sudden, phew, he just falls in a well, and the devotees were screaming and crying. They knew this was a very, very deep, dry well. They ran. And then they came to the well, and their hearts were just palpitating with fear. What are they going to see? And they looked, and the whole well was filled with fresh, soft butter. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was laying in the butter. It is described that was the power of Swarup Damodar Goswami Sankirtan. In the Gambhira, the two associates of Lord Chaitanya that were always with him during his last 18 years, Antya Lila, were Ramananda Rai, Vishaka Gopi, and Swarup Damodar Goswami Lalita Gopi. Ramananda Rai would recite scriptural passages, and Swarup Damodar would sing beautiful, beautiful praises of the Lord. So, Prabhupada explains, when Lord Chaitanya told Swarup Damodar that, see what your Bengali Vaishnava has done, Lord Chaitanya has put all of his followers for all time to come under the care of Swarup Damodar Goswami. And unless Swarup Damodar Goswami appeals to Mahaprabhu for all the offenses that we have done, what is our hope? And in Vrindavan Dham, any devotee who sincerely and honestly prays and longs for service to Srimati Radharani, Swarup Damodar Goswami will take that devotee mercifully, Lalita Saki will take that devotee under her protection and nourish that devotee with her mercy. And the leader of all the assistants of Lalita Saki is Rupa Manjari. And similarly in Mahaprabhu's Leela, under Swarup Damodar Goswami, the leader of all Vaishnavas of our line is Sri Rupa Goswami. So when we come here to Unchaagaon, we are praying like beggars. Because who are we? What is our qualification? If we think we have qualification, we don't even have a hope of getting qualification. Swarup Damodar Goswami was an associate of Mahaprabhu in Navadvip. His name was Purushottam. But after Lord Chaitanya took sannyas, he became completely mad and just took sannyas. Didn't even know why. And he came to Puri after Lord Chaitanya's South Indian tour and just fell at the feet of Mahaprabhu with such humility. Just offered his life, his soul, his everything. Our Prayojana Acharya, Raghunath Das Goswami, was personally trained by Swarup Damodar Goswami. Lord Chaitanya took Raghunath and put him under the care of Swarup Damodar Goswami for his spiritual life. So we come here to the birthplace and the eternal home of Lalita Sakhi. And the first thing we should do here is understand how fallen and unqualified we are. His Holiness Damodar Swami Maharaj was so nicely describing the offenses, the anarthas we have to overcome. Crookedness, faithlessness, and he culminated with pride. Pride that I'm a great devotee. Pride that I'm an advanced soul. Pride that I'm better than others. If we think we're better than others because we know more slokas, or we're more renounced, or we've been around for a longer time, or we give better lectures, or we sing better kirtans, or we put on nicer tilak or sari, if we think we dress the deities nicer, we have more followers, this is all nonsense. If we think we're better than others, that should be the alarm bell, if we're serious, that we're really in a very degraded, fallen condition. Because that is not how any acharya has ever felt. We should feel void. If you're not hungry, you can't digest food. Yes? Hunger means an emptiness. There's nothing there. Unless we feel really humble. Trinada pisunichena taror ivasihishrana amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. We can't really beg for mercy. And even when we get it, even if mercy comes causelessly, we cannot digest it. Unless we have that hunger. Unless we feel ourselves very fallen. We have come to Sri Radharani's Shiksha Guru's abode. We have come to the abode of that personality who Lord Chaitanya had put us all under the care of. We have come to beg for mercy, beg for compassion. We're in the Dham, but what do we see? The Leela of the Lord is taking place right before us. And we're thinking so much on the bodily and egoistic conceptions of life. How pitiful is our condition. We come here to fall in the dust and offer the tears of our gratitude and our humility and beg, please give causeless mercy. Just let me be the dust at the lotus feet of the servants of your servants, please. And if that is our sincere aspiration, Lalita Sakhi, she will take us under her protection. And that will be the ultimate perfection of our life. So let us offer that prayer. We have come so far, and we do not know if we'll ever be able to come back here again. Such a holy place. I'd like to speak something about, very briefly because we are late, and I went over time, even though This is Bakasura, duplicity. I made the rule and then I broke it. I confess and I apologize. Where we are sitting now is the Samadhi Mandir and the Bhajan Kutir of the great Vaishnava Acharya Narayan Bhatt Goswami. Narayan Bhatt Goswami was from South India. When he was 14 years old, he renounced everything of this world, totally detached, and came to Sri Braj Dham and never left his whole life. He came here at 14 years old. He was a Gaudiya Vaishnava, a follower of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And with the blessings of Rup Sanatan and the empowerment of Mahaprabhu, in this area of Braj, so many of the great holy places were revealed and excavated. It is described that the deity of Sriji Mandir was found in a beautiful kunj. He had a dream that Radharani was calling for him. And he found the deity and installed on the top of the hill Vrishabhanu's home. Originally installed by Vajranabh and discovered and installed by Narayan Bhatt Goswami. And just close to here is a temple of Dauji, Sri Balaram. While Narayan Bhatt Goswami was performing his worship here, begging for the mercy of Lalita Saki, he had a dream. No, he didn't have a dream. He used to see a cow. He did have a dream, but a little later. He used to see a cow pouring milk on top of a hill, and he didn't understand what this was about. And then right here, when he was doing his bhajan, he had a vision where Balaramji appeared to him and said that that cow is giving her milk to me. Build it to worship me. So he went and dug under the ground and found a beautiful deity of Dauji. And that was his worshipable deity for the rest of his life.
Hello, Sri Dauji Maharaj ki jai!
Thank you, Dinabandhu Prabhu. No one can do these things like you.
An empowered voice.
He also wrote the Braj Bhakti Vilas, which is a book about parikrama, how to do parikrama of Vrindavan. And it describes in very, very great detail the various holy places of Braj Dham. Many of those places, I know Brijabasis who have for years been searching to find the places in Braj Bhakti Vilas, and they find them. And reveal them to the world. And for the Brijabasis and Gaudiya Vaishnavas, to a large extent as well, the parikrama path of Braj Bhakti Vilas is something that is very, very much followed. This is his Samadhi Mandir and his Bhajan Kutir. Let us pray for his causeless mercy. And just on this side is one of the very sacred worshipable places of Braj Dham. It is called Saki Giri. Sri Radharani, as we see, her home was right close by. Did you all see the beautiful panoramic view of Bharsana? You can see in one vision, it's the only place from Unchaagaon, you can see Man Mandir and Dangar and Vangar. So beautiful. Srimati Radharani would come here to Lalita Saki's home. And just close by on the Saki Giri, Sri Radharani, Lalita Saki and gopis would perform very, very intimate pastimes. There's a rock that is like a slide called Pishalani Shila. We were supposed to end earlier and go there. I don't know now. But this Pishalani Shila, it's a slide that Lalita, Radharani and Sakis would play so many games, sliding. And there's also on another part of that hill, Chitra Shila, where the gopis with colored dyes and minerals, they would paint beautiful artwork on the stones. And there's another place which is highly worshipped by the devotees, Lalita Vivaha Mandap. That is the place where a beautiful pastime occurred. Lalita Saki and Radharani and gopis were on Saki Giri, and Srimati Radharani had planned. She called for Krishna, and Krishna came. And Krishna, she took Krishna by the hand and sat him right next to Lalita Saki. And then with her indication, all of a sudden one gopi tied Krishna's golden dhoti to Lalita Saki's veil, knot. And then Radharani put Lalita Saki's hand in Krishna's hand. And then one gopi poured water on top, and another gopi began to chant wedding mantras, and another began to chant wedding songs, and other gopis were showering flowers on them. And in this way, Lalita and Krishna were married. Harivol. Srimati Radharani always wanted to see her closest associates have the great anand or ecstasy of Krishna's association. Although the gopis, their only aspiration was to see Radharani in Krishna's association. At that Deha Kund, Deha means body. That is a place where all the gopis made vow. They made lifelong vow that they offer their bodies in complete, absolute surrender to the lotus feet of Sri Nandanandana, Lord Krishna. And also Radharani and Krishna came to Deha Kund, and together they vowed that their body would be one. That they are marriage, the husband and wife become one. They never formally were married, at least in legalistic ways, but they vowed that their body would be one, that their hearts would be inseparable. Just over here is Triveni Koop. Krishna took his flute, actually Lalita Saki, and convinced gopis that they should go to Triveni to bathe in Ganga, Jamuna, Saraswati. So Krishna came, and with the tip of his flute he made a well. He made an empty well. And then he sat and remembered Triveni. And just by his remembrance, Ganga Devi, Yamuna Devi, Saraswati Devi filled the well. And to this day it is said by the acharyas that anyone who takes water or even dust close to that place gets all the credit and more of going to Prayag during the month of Magh and bathing in Triveni. This is a very holy place. We can spend many days, many lifetimes trying to understand it. Let us just be grateful that we are together here and pray for the causeless mercy of the Vaishnavas, Sri Guru and Swarup Damodar Goswami. Swarup Damodar Goswami is Lalita Saki, who's come to this world to so profusely give the mercy of Radha and Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, to everyone. And what is the price? The sincere, humble taste for hearing the Lord's glories and chanting His holy name. louder, please. Much, much louder. Thank you very much.